There's nothing more important in language learning than a regular habit of engaging with your language. But what do you do if life gets in the way and you can't maintain the sort of regular daily engagement with the language which is so important? What happens when the ceiling, metaphorically or literally perhaps, falls in? That's the topic of today's video, and I've got 3 simple tips to enable you to continue to engage even if at a much lower level. This is particularly topical for me personally at the moment because I've been away now for a week from home from London in rural Oxfordshire. I'm staying at my dad's place so that I can visit him in hospital easily. He's having some surgery in nearby Oxford. So it's a change of scene, a bit of worry, and certainly it's meant maintaining my normal routines has become a lot more difficult. But come to think of it, it's not only in times of family crisis perhaps that things get disrupted. This happens, if in a less dramatic way to me, several times a year anyway. For example, when I'm travelling in connection with work. I'm sure you too experience times when it's suddenly more difficult to keep up your regular levels of active engagement with your language. So what sort of things then can we do to keep our language gently ticking over through the turbulence? Things that might even provide a dollop of language learning balm to keep us occupied when we're on a long flight, for example, or to take our minds off worries when we're sitting in a hospital waiting room. The first thing that we can do quite easily is to listen passively to audio. So make sure you've got audio resources to hand. I'm subscribed to several beginners level Japanese podcasts, and I can also use my phone to get native level radio for my advanced languages such as Welsh, Russian and German. If you're following a language course, make sure you've got the audio in MP3 form on a memory stick or on your phone, somewhere where you can access it easily. Similarly, if you have other apps with an audio element, use those for listening practice. It might be that you're only listening for 10 minutes a day when you're in the shower, in the car or something like that. Not doing the sort of more interactive listening, which I usually am such a fan of, things like dictation exercises. But we need huge amounts of passive listening practice anyway to get good in a language. So we might as well take advantage of the fact that we can continue to do that to some degree, even in the most disrupted of times in our lives. As well as continuing with a little bit of listening practice, make sure you've got something to read. I had to pack at pretty short notice to come over here to Oxfordshire last week, and my rucksack was already bulging with all the papers and a couple of laptops, things I needed to be able to work remotely. But I did have space to put a thin Basque novella into the rucksack, just 91 pages. Something then, when I just feel like a bit of a read, I can read even just a couple of paragraphs. And it's quite difficult for me still to read this language. It's not one of my advanced languages, but I've got it. I can pull it out of my bag when I feel like it. Maybe though it is time I invested in a Kindle. Of course, your emergency reading matter. It could simply be printouts of dialogues from a language course, photocopies of pages of a textbook or the textbook itself, or whatever materials are to hand, a magazine, for example. I like to keep a deck of flashcards in my jacket pocket as well, and of course you can use an app such as Anki for times when you feel like something, even just for a couple of minutes, a bit more systematic. And if flashcards and apps aren't your thing, do you have a social media account in your target language? Whether it's scrolling through a German Twitter feed or your favourite Spanish Instagrammers, Russians on TikTok, there are ways that you can, scroll your way fluent in a way when you don't have the energy or the focus really to do anything more effective. Of course, there may be times when you're not up to engaging, even in this more limited way, with your target language. It might be days, weeks, or even months that pass. A complete pause is nothing in itself to worry about. I've got another video on that here on the channel, and there'll be a link to it somewhere out here. You can check it out next, perhaps. I often find that a total break can have real benefits at the level of subconscious consolidation. But when you do have the energy, Make sure then that you've got something to listen to, quite passively, some reading to dip in and out of, and something you can scroll, whether it's flashcards, physical or in an app, or social media accounts in the language. Have you found other ways to keep things ticking over effectively when life gets somehow out of kilter? If you have, share them with us in the comments below. By the way, when I alluded to the ceiling falling in at the beginning of this video, I wasn't just speaking metaphorically. While I've been here in Oxfordshire, there's been a water leak back at my place in London, which brought down the dining room ceiling. So it never rains, but it pours. Sometimes life's waters are choppier than normal, but eventually things calm down again. And certainly when that happens to me, I want to get back to my usual language habits. And I find that getting back on track's actually a lot easier when you have what I call your language learning anchors in place. There's something that can help stabilise the ship, as it were, as the engines fire up again. And I want to talk about them in another vlog soon here on the channel. As always, thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for the vibe, think about a thumbs up, tickle that bell, and share the affair. See you next time. Bye.